Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's
Gee,
everyone doing?
just happy to be here. I don't know about y'all.
Not too bad.
That could be worse.
Yes, it could be worse. The Falcons could have won. Ah,
Well, I tell you what, no matter who you were rooting for in that game, it was one heck of a game.
yes, it was. I enjoyed watching it, but I couldn't root for either team. But I enjoyed watching the game.
Um, it was I was kind of pulling for the Falcons, but just because they were the underdogs. But that's just me. Uh, but
Yeah.
I sure didn't lose any sleep that they lost. And that was the only professional game that I watched all year long, all season long. Probably for about the last 2 or 3 years. I haven't even watched the whole Super Bowls, you know, before. So I can tell you how much I watch sports. That was just a good game. Uh, anyway, is Keith going to make it today?
Um, I thought he was, but now I'm trying to remember what days he said he was gonna miss. I thought he would be here today and miss Thursday, but I don't know.
All
But
right.
some
Well,
a lot of times he comes rolling in a minute or two late. So
yeah, it's okay. Uh, Jasmine and Aaron, are y'all there?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, to let you guys know, I do have your job announcements in. Um, I haven't had a chance to grade them. I tell you what's going on. Uh, I lost water this weekend, Sunday, and I worked for several hours Sunday trying to get water restored and did not get it restored. And worked yesterday, got it running a little bit, and then it quit on me. And we just got to have water. So I will get that done as soon as I get my water done. Uh, because it's not nothing pressing. Uh, but I'll get that graded and let you, give you feedback to any type of corrections. Uh, as you know, we have a exam scheduled for Thursday. Uh, and what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to try to make Tom's life easier. It is a short answer exam, but instead of having it on Thursday, what I'm going to do is put it on Blackboard for you, and you can go to the testing center and take it. You will require a password or password to get in. And Tom, you got my email with that password on it, right?
I haven't checked my email yet this morning, so
Well, that's fine. I sent you the password for it, and I just don't know whether I need to contact Southside and Keysville testing centers and give them that password, or if you do that, or how that works.
I'll contact whoever they're gonna be taking the test with and give them the password. Um,
Okay. So what you'll do, guys, is go in the testing center, log on to Blackboard, and I don't have it in there yet. It'll probably be under exams like HR exam one, and uh, they'll give you the password for it, and then you type it in and take your exam. It won't be timed. I'm trying to decide whether just to give you class time on Thursday to just do it instead of during class, or just let you do it on your own time. What, because some of you guys travel to get to the college, and I don't want to make too big of a burden on you guys. So would you rather just do the exam during class time, or would you rather do it on your own time and get it done by the end of the week? And Keith, you walked
I
in on
think
the middle of this, so you didn't catch it all.
Yeah, I was starting to fill him in on it.
Uh, Jasmine and Aaron, what do you guys want to do on that?
I'd rather just take it during class time.
Okay. Aaron, is
Yeah,
that going
me
to
too.
work best for your work schedule too, or not?
Yeah, I'm with her. I'll be here Thursday.
All right. Um, so you can just go to I will do my best to have this available for you guys on Thursday, hopefully tomorrow, uh, that it would be available on Blackboard. But as of right now, I know Jasmine gets tired of hearing me talk. The poor lady's here with me 4 days a week, and 2 days a week she's the only one in the class. She gets in that hot seat, so I'm sure she'd like to have a break from me. So I'll let you guys just go to the testing center on Thursday and take your exams there.
I had a
On
thought. Uh, Jasmine and Aaron, do y'all have laptops? Because
Yes, sir.
Yes.
if y'all have laptop computers, instead of trying to take it in the tutoring center, if you could take it during class time Thursday, then bring your laptop and show up in the classroom, and I'll tell you what the password is, and I sort of watch y'all over the TV. That could be an option too. Would y'all want to do
Yeah, I
that,
think
or
that's
that
just
would.
take
fine
it?
with me. That's fine with me, guys.
Yeah, I think that would be better.
Okay, so that way you're
Yeah.
working with a regular computer that you're familiar with.
And then I'll be here too, so if you have questions, just ask me.
Okay, so Aaron, were you going to do that too? I heard Jasmine say she was.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. Oh, and Aaron, did you take my test the other day?
No, sir, I didn't. I plan on taking it right after class today.
Okay.
All right, and Greg had, or I don't know if Greg has or not. I forgot to ask him, but uh, Evan hadn't taken your exam yet either. He hadn't been able to get off work in time before the testing center closes. He's supposed to be start back to class tomorrow. Uh, no, on Thursday. So I just figure he can take it then, um, or this weekend we can put it in the library for him. But we'll get
Oh,
that done. And Greg called me this morning and said he got called into work, so he's not going to be at your class today either. I
okay.
told him to call you, or send you a text or an email to let you know that he got called into work. They had a big layoff up there and laid off a bunch of people where he works, and he missed it. But I think they're calling him in more now. But it's
Oh
catch
my.
22, and you got to have a job, but he's trying to better himself and go to school. And it's life. It all
Yeah.
works out. Okay, so we got the testing thing out of the way. Uh, Now, when hopefully you've done that study guide for the exam, and you saw on there interview questions. Uh, you know, I had you rewrite interview questions to whether they're going to be legal or illegal, and you've got that assignment coming up. Uh, but I'll talk about that in a minute with your assignments. What I'm going to talk about right now first are interview questions. Um, the interview process with your candidates are important. Okay. It gives you a chance to get them. The goal of that interview is to get them to talk and find out more about them. So ideally, with your interview questions, you do not want yes and no questions. Does that make sense? If I don't want to, you don't want to ask somebody, can you operate a tractor? Man, there's a wide range of tractors, right? From the old Ford 8Ns to the 6420s to 8000 series and John Deere's. And these tractors now are the new ones. A lot of some of them have the GPSs in them and a lot of computer stuff on them. So there's a big difference between operating that little simple Ford 8N tractor that came out in the 50s, early 50s, to the ones that's coming out in 2017. So the way you could, instead of asking, can you operate a tractor, you ask them what type of tractors have they operated, right? And that's going to get them talking about the different tractors they've operated. And it'll give you a clue on what they can and can't do, or what type of implements have they used. Does that make sense? So, you want to get them to talk, and you want to leave open-ended questions so that they have to go into detail. You just don't want yes or no questions. So you want to aim your questions around that job description, or some of your questions around the job description, to see if they've got experience and can do what the job's going to require. So there's three types of there's you're going to have questions regarding job experience. You also want questions regarding personality. How important is it to pick out or to select an individual that's going to have a personality you can get along with? Would that be important for you guys?
Yes, sir. I think personality would be the most important in my book for my job selection.
Okay. And
Well, not the most important job related wise, but
and that's fine, because I think it's important for you to be able to get along with your coworkers. Some people may put qualifications more important. Some people may put moral character as the most important. Everybody has their own list of priorities. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. It's just what's important to you. And if you think about it, you're spending, if it's a full-time position, you're going to be working with these people 40 hours a week. And
Farley,
so I think, go ahead, Keith.
I was just going to add something. I look at this whole process as, I guess, I use a sports analogy. You're the coach, and you are trying to recruit the best players for your team, and you want the new person coming onto your team to fit into your team. You don't want him to be an oddball. You want him to fit and complement your team and have synergy. So I think it's not so much personality, but I think it's fitting into the existing team.
Okay. That's a good point, too. So there's different ways, everybody has their different theories and philosophies. Doesn't make them wrong, doesn't make them right. It's just what you feel. And guys, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you need to figure out why it's not working and may have to make some changes. So, that team concept, that's a very popular one. Personality is very popular. Qualifications is popular. It's just what suits you. So, you want questions regarding their abilities or, their qualifications. You want questions regarding working as a team, personality, things of that nature. Okay? And then you just want some questions to try to find out a little about them, but you have to be really careful because what are those 6 things we can't discriminate against? Those 6 characteristics we can't discriminate. Age,
race, disability, religion, national origin, and gender.
okay. All right. So we can't discriminate against those. So any type of questions coming out regarding that could be viewed as discrimination. So can I ask in an interview, can I ask how old you are?
No.
No. Ask what year you graduated from high school then.
No.
No. Because I can figure out how old you are from that, right?
But you could ask something like, what was the favorite movie playing when you got your driver's license? That's a legitimate question.
It is. In case, the person you're interviewing is into these cult classics and you're not real familiar with them, that may not help you as an employer. Actually, it could. You could just go Google that movie and see what it's about or whatever. But how, other than asking what was a favorite movie of theirs when they graduated from high school or while they were in high school, what would be a more appropriate way of trying to figure out to see, what would be more an appropriate way of asking that? Or is there an appropriate way? As an employer, what are we concerned about? One, that they are old enough to work, right?
Usually what you have to do is produce. Yeah. No, usually what you have to do during the final interviewing process or when they first start, you have to now prove you're a U.S. citizen. And so in that is some form of your driver's license or your passport, and in there has your birth date on that.
Okay. And we'll get to that citizenship here in a minute. But as with age, the thing we've got to worry about is, number one, we don't want to discriminate. We don't want to ask an illegal question. Number two, we want to make sure they're old enough to work because of child labor laws. So one way we could ask that to make sure we're going to be covered is that we can ask if they are over the minimum age for the hours or the working conditions. Because as an employer, we have to cover ourselves on that. We can't hire a 12-year-old to go do a dangerous job. Probably we can't even hire the 12-year-old very much. I think there may be some exceptions with ag and family. And they were trying to change that a few years ago, and luckily it failed. If it got defeated, but uh, you know that's about the only way you're going to ask for age, is making sure they're going to be old enough to do the type of work and the hours that are required by law, that they meet that minimum age. Otherwise, you can't really ask much about age. Now, after they're hired, then um, as Keith said, you're going to have documentation for the taxes and stuff like that you're going to have to pay as an employer, the FICA. So you're going to have to verify that they are who they are. So, that's usually going to require a birth certificate or social security card. And I don't know if a driver's license or a DMV record or a DMV ID will suffice on that. Usually it's a driver's license or social security card. I mean, a birth certificate or social security card. And then if they're filling out insurance forms, it's going to ask for their age on that. But that's after the hiring process. And
But shouldn't you be able
go ahead.
shouldn't you be able to see their age on their application when they put down their birth date? So you would already have you would already know it before you ask them to come into the interview.
Well, my question is on that application, is that still legal? Is it legal on an application?
No, it's not.
That's right. It's not. So it's not legal in an interview and it's not legal on an application. Are they not
I could have swore that you put your birth date on the application.
I'm not going to say that companies don't do that. I'm just telling you that it's illegal.
Didn't know that.
And they probably don't either, or they probably don't care, and they just hope they don't get sued. But it is illegal to ask that, because that could be age discrimination, especially for me and Keith and Tom. You, it's probably not going to matter much. Depending on the job we're applying for.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a state job that asked for that information. A Virginia state job.
Could be. I'd have to pull up the state application to see. It very well could have that.
But maybe that's just for state use. Maybe that's just it's different for the state, maybe. I don't know.
And it could be because they're having to fill quotas. How many people of certain ages are applying for these jobs? How many do you have? How many have you hired or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the state application in the last few years, but what it used to be is it was a separate little piece of paper that you would detach off of the bottom that you fill that stuff in. So then they'd have those records to show that they're interviewing minorities, they're interviewing young people, old people, and not discriminating in the application process. But that's supposed to be detached. And so as soon as the HR person gets your application, they're supposed to rip that off at the bottom, set it to the side, and then your application goes in a pile to be looked at and considered. So it might be
because that also that piece of paper Tom's talking about also had race and ethnicity and all those other personal questions on there that was supposed to be detached. Now it's all online, and it's a separate. It's right at the very end, and it says will not be used in the selection criteria on there. But like Tom says, it's just to meet the quotas. But private
Which
industry, you don't need to be asking that question.
sort of the rule of thumb I used to go by for all of these. I'm sorry, I was out for a few minutes. You may or may not have forgotten this, but the rule of thumb I went with is don't ask something that you don't need to know. Because then if you ask for something you don't need to know, and then that person doesn't get a job, then they're going to say the reason they didn't get a job is because of that piece of information that you asked for, and that you discriminated against them. So you don't ask for age unless age matters, or else they're going to say, well, you didn't give me the job because of age. Don't ask for religion because you don't need to know. Don't ask if they have any kind of communicable diseases or non-communicable diseases, the number of dogs they have, cats they have, anything. Don't ask about it because you're asking to have that you be accused of discrimination. So that's why I'm sure he's going to nail this a whole bunch this semester. That job description is so important because there you label exactly what's needed, and then that's exactly what you ask for, and then that's only what you ask for, and then they can't come back and accuse you. If age doesn't matter, if it doesn't matter if they're 18 or 82, don't ask.
And that's a very good rule of thumb.
I also like to share, you mentioned the word quotas, and that's an anathema to me, but my experience, upper management kind of tells the hiring managers who to hire indirectly. They might say they want to do something, reflect the demographics of the area you're serving or something like that, or they might want to, for government regulations, increase the number of female employees or something like that. So I've been in situations where submitted qualified people, but they didn't fit the upper management's desires of who they wanted to bring on board.
All I can say, Keith, is that happens. Not to be a smart aleck or to be mean or anything like that. You've experienced it. I've experienced it. It happens.
All I'm saying, these rules and stuff seem to prevent discrimination in a way that sometimes they enhance discrimination.
Well, that's because people are abusing and breaking the law there. Because it's actually against the law to have a quota. But what you can say is we have goals,
Right.
and ultimately you use the race, the gender, the religion, whatever, as a tiebreaker. If you have two equal candidates, well, we'll give the nod to the minority. But if you're not supposed to give the nod to that secondary candidate over to give them a pass ahead of a more qualified candidate. You're supposed to go with qualified candidates first, and then the others is the quota, quote unquote. That's just a tiebreaker. And if they're doing it for anything other than that, they technically are breaking the law, and as you suggested, they could get sued for reverse discrimination too.
I guess what they're doing is extending to making all push effort to find that qualified candidate that fits their description to meet their goals.
No, if they're targeting where they're sending their job their job descriptions, that kind of stuff, to an area where they're fishing for that specific person, well, that's okay, but they're narrowing their pool of potential candidates, so they may get a less qualified candidate because they cast a narrow net instead of a wide one, and that's kind of their choice.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is your class. I'll shut up.
No, that's all right. Appreciate your input. Another interview question that you got to be careful on and make sure you ask it legally is citizenship. Can you ask, is it illegal to ask if they're a United States citizen?
No, it's not. It's required by law.
No. Well, for most jobs, it's not. The way you have the way you have to ask that, Keith, is are you eligible to work in the U.S.?
Then the second part that says proof, you have to offer
That's
proof
right.
that you are.
They have to provide proof.
Which you can ask it if it pertains to the job. Like if you're working in one of these data centers here, and if they have a government contract, which they have the Hewlett Packard. I was talking to somebody at HP in Clarksville, and they have to have U.S. citizens because of getting a security clearance because they're doing government contracts. And so in that case, you would have to ask because it directly pertains to the job. But picking tomatoes
That's
or potatoes
correct.
doesn't matter.
It depends on the job. If it's going to require security clearance, yes. But if it's a farm labor job or, construction or something else, they just have to be legal to work in the United States and be able to show that proof. So you could ask, instead of asking, are you a U.S. citizen, you ask, are you able to provide proof of employment upon, if you get this job, or proof of eligibility of employment? You know what I'm saying? That can you prove that you've got the paperwork that you're eligible to work in the United States? That is legal. So if you're a U.S. citizen and you show them your birth certificate, you're fine. If you're a migrant worker or here on a visa, you can show them, that work visa. So, depending on the job, outside of government security stuff, you have to ask them, can they provide documentation they're eligible to work in the United States? Can I ask the question, have you ever been arrested?
Yes.
You have to ask, are they a convicted felon?
Okay.
Right? I think.
That's correct. You can get arrested and you can get acquitted, right? You can prove your innocence. And so, you can't ask if you've been arrested, but you can ask if they've been convicted of a felony or any other crime. I think Obama was trying to change that. I don't know if he got that through or not. So if he got it changed, then you can't ask that. I can't remember whether it passed or not. But, if you're thinking, for your operation that you're doing, if you have on there your job description, and the qualifications that they must be able to pass a criminal background check, then, I would ask that some way. I wouldn't ask, have you been arrested? I would ask, have you ever been convicted of a crime, or can you pass a criminal background check? I'd let them know it's going to happen. Because if I'm giving them access to my farm and they got access to my equipment, I want to know whether or not they're trustworthy, if they have a criminal record. I worked for a horse trainer one time, and he had a guy working for him before I came along, and he was off, the trainer was off at a horse show, and the guy came in and cleaned him out. Took whatever he wanted to take. He had access to the barn and the equipment, and he made off with a heyday. When he was supposed to have been there taking care of the remainder of the animals that didn't go to the show. So, I'm going to be leery on who I'm going to give access to my farm, access to that too. At the same time, there's one place I was training. One of the men that worked on the farm, they had a horse division, they had a cattle division. This guy was a convicted felon. Got in trouble for smuggling drugs, or he was bringing drugs up from Texas to Virginia. And the owner knew it. He hired him. And the guy's a good guy. He made a mistake. He did his time. And you know, the guy gave him another chance, or his employer gave him a chance, and he's got access to farm accounts, to go buy stuff, access to the keys. He's been clean ever since. So, I'm not saying don't hire convicted felons, or criminals. I think it's going to be a case by case basis. This guy's a real good guy, does a great job managing those cattle and taking care of the cattle. And I think he's general manager now, directly under the owner. So, but you just can't ask if you've been arrested or you ever spent a night in jail. You just have to rephrase that. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? Would be the legal way to ask that. Can I ask if a person has any disabilities?
No.
No, you can't. I was asked one time in an interview to tell you how dumb and naive this old country bumpkin was. We had interviewed, I had the interview, and we were walking out, and the guy that interviewed me asked me if I had it, what's my handicap? I looked at him, I said, well, none that I know of other than I wear glasses. And he looked at me and goes, no, I'm talking about golf. What's your handicap in golf? I don't play golf. I don't know what it is.
But there's non-subtle ways of doing something to find out. This is a true story. One business, they shut the elevator down, so the only way to get up to the floor where the interview was, you had to take the stairs. So if you're huffing and puffing when you got on the floor, they knew that you weren't in good shape.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's a true story too.
I believe it. So, you can't ask if they have disabilities. You can't ask anything about their medical history. But you can ask if they can perform the specific duties of the job. Again, we're going back to that job description. Keith is looking to somebody to work with his beehives. I don't know about you guys, but those supers full of honey, they're not light. So, they're heavy, and you're bent over, you're picking them up or moving them around or hunting for the queen. And, you got to move them. So, you want to make, he definitely, and he did put in his job description that they're going to have to be bending a lot and lifting those supers of honey, which can weigh up to 70 pounds quite frequently. So, he can ask that because it's in his job description. So, but you can't ask anything about disabilities or medical conditions. You can just ask them if they can they perform the duties of the job. When they're filling out their insurance forms, after they're hired, then they're going to be putting their medical history on there, but that's after the hiring process. So one thing you want to keep in mind, guys, it's probably worth your money that, put on there, in your job description, there'll be need to pass a medical screening or have a medical screening, or that's contingent upon being hired. Because if they're going to do a lot of heavy labor, you want to make sure their back's okay. The book the book talks about a story where this farmer hired this guy, and second or third day on the job, he blew out his back or complained about back pain and ended up getting on workman's comp and going to the doctor, and it came out that the doctor said, if you'd have sent him to me before you hired him, I would have told you, do not hire this guy because he's got a bad back. And anyway, it cost that farmer quite a bit of money because there's lawsuit involved and all sorts of jazz. So,
Can you do a pre-screen physical?
What's that?
Can you do a pre-screen physical on a potential employee?
It would be, it's not going to be on the potential employee. It would be contingent upon, you can say, you extend the job offer, say, okay, we're going to offer you a job, but it's contingent on you passing the criminal background, drug screen, and a physical.
Well, that's good to know.
Something of that nature. What's that?
Good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. You can do that. All right, let's talk about questions about family. Can I ask if you're married?
No.
Or your spouse's income? Can I ask
No.
if you have kids?
No.
No. All illegal questions. Can I ask if you've made child care arrangements if you get this job?
Nope.
Nope. If, Keith was a salesman and he was on the road a lot, could his employer have asked him in that interview, hey, you're going to be driving a lot. What's your wife think about all the time you're going to be on the road?
Nope.
Nope. Can't ask those either. So what can you ask? What do you want to know as an employee, as an employer? You care about their family? I mean, you do, but, you want to know if they can work overtime, right?
Yeah, we want to know more about them.
Yeah, you want to know more about them. So instead of asking if they have kids, you can ask, are you able to work overtime when the job requires? Is there any reason you can't start at 7:30 in the morning? Are they out there putting the kid on the school bus, or can they be at work at 7:30 in the morning? You don't ask that. You just ask, can they start, any reason you can't start at 7:30? If that's what time you start, most farms I worked on, we start at 7.
Suppose that did come up, say that I have to leave my child at daycare at 7:30. The earliest I can come to work is 8 o'clock.
For me, that would be if they volunteer it, it's fine, but you can't ask
Yeah,
for it. And
I
and
was
then
going
you
to
would
say
be-
if it's volunteered.
Yeah, and then you would be evaluating this job starts at 7 o'clock or 7:30, and you can't make it until 8 o'clock. Well, then that's something that.
But
you
wouldn't
have
that
to
be
consider.
accommodation? I mean, could that be considered as a disability, having a child? Seriously, I'm just asking a question.
I don't know. I know one guy refers to his kids as warts.
Yes, but as far as accommodation, like I said, you'll have to consider it. Is it reasonable? Because that's costing you potentially to lose 5 hours worth of
Well,
work
that's-
out of a person a week.
I was saying a half an hour. You
Yeah.
said start 7:30, so
But you
Well, by the
could.
time they got to work, unless they lived on the farm,
But, that's when you evaluate everybody else is working 7:30 to 5, but am I going to have him work from 8 to 5:30? Can I do that? Is that more trouble than it's worth? And and is this person a good enough worker that I'm willing to make that adjustment anyway? And then recognizing that if you're working that person till 5:30, are you going to have to keep supervising that person an extra half hour out of your day? Or can that person be trusted? So you'd have to take that on a case by case basis.
Yeah,
But
they volunteer the information, it's volunteered, and then you're going to have to make that decision. But you can't ask.
Okay.
yes, because otherwise they're asking me if I'm married because they're finding out if I'm single because they want to start asking me out on dates and that kind of thing. And you got to be careful. Yes, he just told me to
Or
drink.
put him on salary and then work him like a dog, and he doesn't see, works from dark 30 to dark 30.
Yeah, but I'm going to assume he's jealous of my looks, and that's why he's not hiring me. So.
Oh. Well,
Yes.
that's okay. You can assume what you want there.
Yes, but anyway.
All right. Let me give you a scenario here. This lady goes in for a job interview, and they ask this young lady, "Do you plan to have kids in the future?"
That's a no-no.
Yeah, that's a no-no, all right. But Keith, in real life, you've been in enough interviews. I've been in enough interviews. Sometimes you get asked illegal questions, whether intentionally or unintentionally.
Well, when I
Right.
worked at the hospital, there was a question we had to ask because we made up of chemotherapy, and in there, some of the drugs we use were not to be around those who were of expecting age. So there was a health concern there. So we did ask that question indirectly.
And if there's, I would think, with situations like that, I think I would refer to my HR or go do some research on that as to whether or not I could ask that question. Because you sure don't want to endanger or chance on that a birth defect in the future. Let me. But what would be the way to handle that if she was that lady? Ask that question.
Repeat the question again, please.
All right. This female candidate was asked, "Do you plan to have children?" Now we all know that's an illegal question, right? She's got three ways. She's got a few ways she could take this back, or she could handle this situation. She can answer it honestly, even though she knows it's an illegal question and she doesn't really want to. She could tell the interviewer it's none of his business and that question's illegal. Or she could deal with the concern behind the question, ignoring the legal question itself. What the interview's wanting to know, the concern with that question is there anything that's going to hinder you doing your job? Wouldn't you say that's a concern for this question of what the employer wants to know? If I hire you and 2 years from now, he's worried about that employer's worried about her taking off on maternity leave and then being in and out of work with sick kids, right? Would y'all agree that's a concern of the employer?
Yeah, that would.
Instead of whether or not she's going to have kids. He really doesn't care on that end of it. They want to know if that's going to hinder her career or her ability to be at work, right?
Wouldn't that be one of your open-ending questions when you're finalizing, if you're possibly going to offer the job? Ask something like, are there any issues or events that might be coming up that would hinder you from performing your functions of your job to your fullest expectations?
See, right there's a legal question. But I can't ask if you're planning on having kids.
Good.
See the difference? Uh, what about national origin questions? Can I ask what country you're from? Where you were born? Where your parents from? What's your heritage? What's your parents' native language?
No, you can't ask that either.
No, I can't ask how you acquired the ability to read, write, or speak English, can I? Or a foreign language. I can't ask any of those. All I can ask legally is, can you verify your legality to work in the United States? Can you provide proof of legal documentation for you to work in the U.S.? That's all I can ask regarding nationality. I can also ask what if need be, what languages do you speak, read, or write fluently? Now that may not, you think about what do I need to do that for? Well, hey, we're in ag, guys. There's a lot of migrant workers, and I have worked with a lot of migrant workers. And it's nice to be able to communicate with them. I happen to know how to speak Spanish. I could get by with it. So, I was okay. But I mean, that wasn't a job requirement, it wasn't in the job description, but it was a bonus to the employer. So, what about religion? Can you ask anything about religion?
No.
No. So
But
you
you might
can't
ask,
ask.
but
Go ahead.
you might ask something to the effect, are there any holidays that I need to know about in advance that you need to take off?
Okay. Most holidays are, like Christmas, that's a national holiday. Easter usually comes in on a Sunday, but Good Friday is not a national holiday. Uh, I'd be kind of leery about that. Uh, I would probably phrase it. You could phrase it to, are you is there are you able to work on Saturdays and
Oh,
Sundays?
yeah, that's a good point.
And besides, you're only talking, maybe 2 or 3 days out of the year
Yeah.
that it might come up, and then just how important is what's going to be going on those 2 or 3 days of the year. Or the other thing could be, are you willing to work on weekends and holidays?
Okay.
Throw that out there and just see what they say, and they may
Yeah.
specifically call out a couple of
And,
holidays.
and and on a farm, it's not. I mean, wintertime. I mean, we're feeding 20, 7 days a week. I've never, in my years of working on farms, I've never seen anybody discriminated against for that. You know, the employers I've worked for said, okay, let's get, if you go to church, let's come in after church to feed this weekend, since it's your weekend to feed. Just come here after you get back from church. That's
Good
pretty
point.
much how that was handled, because on Sundays we didn't do anything other than to feed unless it was calving season. So, that's how you can handle that. Are you able to work weekends and holidays? So you understand, you getting the gist on illegal and legal questions on what you can and can't ask. There'll be a few examples of that on the exam. I'll give you an illegal question and you're going to have to make it legal. It's not very difficult. But there's some it's up here on Blackboard. You guys can look at it under week two of legal and illegal questions. Now we're out of time. No, we're not out of time. I looked at my clock wrong. All right. So do you have any questions about your interview questions? What you can and can't ask, and how you want to try to do your interview questions.
No, but I have a question on the study review guide. I had problems listening to last Thursday's recording, but did you go over review point 7 on the H-2A guest worker program?
No, I did not. So ignore that one.
Okay.
There's not any questions regarding the guest worker program. Mainly, let's see. Let me pull up the exam. Hold on. I lost it.
What's that?
He said I lost it, and I'm like, I lost it years ago.
I'm still looking for it.
All right. So the exam, it is short answer. We talk, there's a lot of stuff about the job selection process, expectations of workers from management, what management expects from their workers, stuff about job descriptions, definitions that we talked about, disparate, adverse impact, disparate treatment, job enlargement, job enrichment. And let's see. Talked a little bit about promotions. Advantages and disadvantages of the merit versus seniority based systems. And rewriting a couple of illegal interview questions. And that's pretty much it. Straightforward, not tricky. There's nothing on the H-2A on that. One year I covered it earlier, and that's just an old study guide, but I need to update that study guide. But that's pretty much what's on the exam. Now, I'm going to put this up here, the syllabus up here, and I want to go over a couple things with you guys. Now, we've covered up to Chapter 5. Chapter 6 talks about performance reviews. And what I was thinking is this performance review assignment we have due in April. Do you care if we move it up to have it due? Let's see. Today's Tuesday. If we have it due next Tuesday, it'll give you a week to do it.
That's Valentine's Day.
Huh?
That's Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I got to get my wife something. And then we'll scoot back this job, this interview plan and questions. We'll back this up a little bit. But let's do this performance review when we're, let's have it due when we're talking about performance reviews. Make it a little bit more relevant. That sound good to you?
Yes.
All right. So that will be due on Tuesday. Now, let me go over about this exam, not the exam, but this performance review deal, because you guys are going to get upset with me. I get a lot of cussing out over this one. And you'll soon find out why. If you look in course content, scroll down here, chapter 5 and 6 PowerPoints where we're at now. Performance evaluation assignment. So click on it. Well, maybe you can't click on it. All right. So what you do, what you're going to do is follow the directions for this link. Basically what you're doing is you're making an origami deal, a little talking head. Okay? That little thing right there, you're going to make it. So, it gives you the instructions. And my past experience, follow those instructions to a T. Okay? Otherwise, you'll be pulling out your hair if you have any hair left. Just follow those instructions, make your little talking head, and bring it to class on Tuesday. And you can decorate it. I encourage you to decorate it. You can put little eyeballs on there or whatever you want to do. Use colored paper. Crayons, I don't care. But make that, bring it to class for your performance, for part of your performance assignment. There'll be 2 parts to this. And if you participate in it, you'll get full credit. Okay? So make it, bring it to class, and then we'll do the class participation part. And everybody will get full credit as long as you make your little talking head and bring it to class on Tuesday. Keith's over here. Keith's got that uh-oh look in his face.
No, I'm thinking of my grandson. I hope it makes it till Tuesday. He'll have a field day with it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it on Monday night.
No.
So, but
Yeah.
any questions on that, Aaron and Jasmine?
No.
Okay. All right, so bring that on Tuesday. Now, the other thing I wanted to go over today, let me get back to our syllabus. I wanted to explain this here to you. So Thursday we'll have the exam. Tuesday we'll do the performance review deal. And then we'll put a date. We'll come up with the date for the interview plan, questions, and discrimination. So let me talk about this. So there's 3 parts to this thing, okay? You have an interview plan, you have your interview questions, and you have your discrimination. Now, let me go back to our grading criteria on this. All right. So, everybody's turned in their job description. And everybody's submitted their job announcement. I haven't graded those yet because like I said, I've been working on my water. Now, the interview plan, the interview strategy, okay? So what I'm going to be looking at for your interview strategy is steps listed for narrowing down applicants until you get the final interview with the approximate number of applicants remaining in each step listed. So let's just assume that on your job announcements, you requested an email, or they emailed you a resume, and you look through those resumes and you picked out the 10 best, the 10 that most suited you. So you've narrowed it down, you got down to 10. Do you want to interview 10 people in reality?
No.
No, you don't. Takes too long. You want to interview about 3 or 4 people. Maybe 5 the max. So what are you going to do to narrow down from those 10 resumes to the 3 or 4 people, 3 to 5 people you want to interview? Could you bring them to your farm and show them all around? Kind of give them, going over their job duties, kind of like a brief orientation? And those that don't show are automatically eliminated, right? If they don't care to come by and look around the farm or look around your place of employment, I wouldn't take my time to interview them. So maybe
You could
3
do
or
a
4
job,
people.
a
What's
job
that?
performance test. You could do a job performance test.
There you go. While they're there, you could do a practical exam, a job performance test, like you said. So that would be another step. So say maybe you eliminated half your people there, or 7 of the 10 between those didn't show up and the performance. Now you got about 3 people left for the interview. So, you're going to list your steps on what you did. So, resume, practical test, orientation around the workplace. Be 3 steps to narrow down. And then I'm going to talk about what I did at each step. Now I'm going to talk went over the interviews, made sure they had the qualifications I was looking for and the appropriate education. The orientation, I asked them to come to the farm on a certain date for a practical test and orientation. And this is what we did for the practical test. So, a couple people didn't bother showing up, so they were just automatically eliminated. And here's what we did for the practical test. I had them drive a tractor, hook up an implement, move cattle from one pen to another, or run a cow down through the head chute. And these people, I had 3 people pass it. So just tell your steps involved, what all you did, and that's it. How you eliminated to get the 3 to 5 people to interview. All right, your interview questions. They adequately cover all aspects of your job duties and responsibilities on the job description. Again, going back to that job description, you want to make sure you ask questions regarding their abilities and knowledge to fulfill that job description. And you don't ask yes or no questions. I don't want to see yes or no questions on there. I don't want to see very many of them. You want open-ended questions to get them to talk. Now, I have on here includes questions to assess the personality of the interview of the individual. So you can get on Google and look at different interview questions regarding personality or critical thinking, things like that, or team type questions. Whatever's important to you, but you need to make sure they're going to fit into your team or have the right personality to work for you to work with. You have questions stated using situations when appropriate, as opposed to what do you know type questions. Give them real life scenarios and ask them to handle the situation. Like, say you're interviewing a dairy herd manager and you say, okay, you come to work, the milk tank is not working. It's not cooling properly. The vet's coming at 8 o'clock. He's to be here at 8 o'clock for, herd health. And you have a tractor broke down that's supposed to be feeding. What do you do? Guys, those are real life situations. Right? Give them a real life situation and let them think their way out of it. What would they do in that situation? So, again, check spelling and make sure it looks good. All right, the discrimination explanation. Look on any items on your job after we've talked talked about discrimination now. Go back over your job description and list any items that could be potentially discriminate. And if you don't have any, just say there's not any items here that could be discriminatory. Just address it. Explain, if there is anything, that could be discriminatory, explain how you're going to fix it. Make sure you don't have any spelling and it looks good. So basically looking to see if you have any discrimination in these previous steps, the job description or interviews or practical test. Any questions regarding those other than the due date?
No, but I have a question, something you said about orientation. Would that be a good practice to maybe have an orientation, let people know that you might have job openings so people can come and look at your farm, and maybe then you kind of pre-select who you might like to interview once you get the resume because you've had a contact with them already?
You know, the book talks a lot about that, uh, Keith, and the author of the book is real high on that. And his main argument is if they don't care enough about that job to show up for a orientation prior to an interview, they probably don't care enough to work there. And he
What I was-
uses he uses that as an elimination hurdle right off the bat.
Yeah, but then again, I was thinking it might be reaching potential candidates you never thought about are for possible interviewing that might not know about your opening.
You're exactly right too. You could be reaching out to other people.
But then you're also inviting people to look around your property and see what you have to steal.
That's why you have a big hungry German Shepherd.
No, you have a couple of those crazy, overly protective territorial blue heelers.
Those are mean dogs.
Emphasis on
Doggone
crazy
right,
there.
they're mean. I have no use for them. I don't like how they work cattle. I don't. I told my wife, she brought home a blue heeler one time, and she still got it against my wishes. She goes, "What? Well, isn't he cute?" And I said, "The only thing he's good for is riding around the back of the truck, so nobody steals your tools."
He's a one-person dog too.
Yeah. We have company, and nobody can get near her. He'll stand there between her and the company. He's very protective of my wife, and you know that's not such a bad thing for me. He irritates the crap out of me, but at least I know if I'm gone and my wife's there on the farm, that dog's going to give his life to save my wife. I do know that without a shadow of a doubt. So maybe he's good for something.
Just don't come home where he doesn't identify you.
Yeah, he knows me. But yeah, it's and if I've offended anybody that likes blue heelers in here, I'm sorry. I'm a border collie guy. I just think they're highly intelligent. I love how they work livestock, and I've had a lot of success with border collies. And I cannot say the same about the heelers. But anyway,
They're smart dogs.
They are. But the book is big on those orientations and letting people get to know your farm, or, coming in there and seeing what's going on. The job fair is not such a bad deal. Granted, you're getting people there that, may rip you off, but also you got to look at it too. It's a way to create goodwill in the community and to showcase your farm that you're proud of. It's good ag relations with the community. Promoting agriculture.
Oh, yes, but make sure you have things locked down. But yeah,
That's right. Have your keys out of your ATVs and tractors and have them hid. So, orientation's not a bad deal. Any other questions? Or concerns you guys may have? If you guys, have the last minute panics before the exam while you're studying for it, don't be afraid to call me, okay? What was that term that Dr. Geyer called that? Lex line or something like that, was it? Do you remember,
I,
Tom?
no, I don't.
He said, "Now, don't get, you get excited last minute, the night before the exam, got a question, you know, make sure you get the correct answer from the right source. So you can call me up and he gave a certain time you could call him. At least he did our class."
I don't remember that, but there's a lot of my time at Tech I don't remember, so I'm not going to discuss my GPA, needless to say.
Hey, you got a job. You graduated and you've got a job. So what's it matter what your GPA is now, right?
Exactly. I found one sucker and it just went from there.
So,
You know, after being away out of college many, many years, one of my last jobs, I had to give them my college transcripts, and GPA was
isn't
on
that
there.
such a pain?
Yeah,
Trying to
and
go back and get hold of those colleges I hate doing those college transcripts.
yeah. And I wanted the validity, what it had to do with the job. I had proof of my diploma, but they actually wanted to see what courses and stuff I took. And this is like, many, many years ago.
So you were
Yeah.
trying to get a job in the field of your major, apparently. So
What I've been doing.
All right, guys, we're out of time. Uh, Call me if you have any questions. Bring that little talking head to class on Tuesday, and I'll see you Thursday. But if you have any questions Wednesday, give me a call, or Tuesday while you're studying. I don't mind to try to help you out.
All
And
right,
I
well, I
won't go play
appreciate
in the
that.
mud. What was that, Keith?
that was Aaron. What were you saying?
Oh,
Oh, I was just telling Dwayne I appreciate it.
yeah. Anytime. I want you guys to do well, and I want you to learn, and I'm here to help you any way I can. So. And let me ask you guys a golden question. Why a water problem? What's so hard about trying to figure out a water problem? I mean, water runs downhill. Why? And then when you have water problem, which right now I'm lucky, it's pretty doggone nice weather, but it's usually in the worst of weather.
Now, when you say water problems, is this the house or the farm yard or what's?
It supplies my house and barn, yeah.
Oh,
I
so,
have
so
a
it's
spring,
okay.
and I got a spring box and a pipe that runs down to a 600-gallon reservoir, and then it runs down from that reservoir to another reservoir, which has, it's a 900-gallon reservoir, and it has my well pump in there that pumps it to a pressure tank that pumps it into the house and barn.
Okay.
And for some reason, it's not running from my spring to the reservoirs.
You probably have a chipmunk in the line.
Yeah, I'm going to take my air compressor up there and blow it out today. That's the only thing I know to do at this point. Or that's my last
Yeah.
alternative. It has to be airlocked or sealed or something built up in there. It was running yesterday, and then it quit. And I was trying to get it going, and the gravel fell down in the darn pipe. So I had to cut the line and take a wire up there and push the gravel out, and I put the line together, and then it quit running. So I don't know what
I'm ha-
happened.
I don't know. I'm having similar issues with a lawnmower. I replaced the engine and it cranked and ran the first time, and now it won't start. And I don't get it. I've tried everything that I know of, and I don't get it. Same thing.
Yeah. If it's not one thing, it's another. That's all I can say.
Yes.
All right. Well, y'all have a good rest of the day. Call me if you have any questions. I'm here to help you.